And you know what? That's the plant. That's his device that he developed. Like, that's the plant making that noise.
So
And
it is talking to you.
yes, and each plant has a different sound.
So who's hooked up right now?
Just this guy.
That guy.
Isn't that cool?
What happens with
This little box. Yeah, I know, right?
I want to hear the cactus.
I know. My friend was like, bring the cactus.
You have to.
Okay.
It has a lot to say. This is so cool.
Thank you
Incredible.
so
Oh my
much,
God.
you guys,
Okay.
both of you, for all your
Okay.
help. Thank you so
I
much.
just get him. Okay, good luck.
Thanks.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. Happy Freya. Welcome to episode 2 of Happy Freya. I have no other than Francisco here, my wonderful guest, who will be speaking about the intelligence of plants. Now, as you can see, I want to get into this because he hooked up his plant right now to this device that he developed. I wonder if you could just, like, get
And it just
into...
went quiet.
Aww, see that?
So,
The plant is, like, shy.
Yeah, they get shy.
See-
It happens there.
Oh, I don't know if you could...
See, I just touched him and he kind of woke up a bit.
So there's 3 of us on the show today, is
Yeah.
what we're communicating. So Francisco, could you please share with us, like, your background? I know you have a background in engineering, but also your love of plants and how you developed this technology to communicate with the intelligent life of plants.
Okay, well, there's a few questions there.
Yes.
As you said, I have a background in engineering, specifically electrical, digital electronics, and some mechanical engineering. And my love for plants has always been there. But this story started for me when I spent some time living in a place called Damanhur in Italy, northern part of Italy, where they actually developed the technology. I can't say that I invented this. I've just taken it a few steps further. They actually developed the initial, I would say, commercial grade level of the technology, and in that place, or at that place, they also did a lot of experiments with plants in the form of communicating with each other, in how they related to humans emotionally, and they even got to a point where they were setting up plant orchestras,
That is so
multiple
cool.
plants playing music together, and it actually sounded very beautiful. People would literally come as a concert. It was set
Wow.
up on stage with multiple plants, and it was a stage setting, so lots of chairs, like 100 people would come.
That's
And we
crazy.
would just literally sit there and listen to this orchestra of plants. It was beautiful. So when I left that place, I wanted to take that with me, take it further, and because of the cost, they are still selling the device. It's about $2,000 to buy one. I decided I wanted to make my own and see if I could take it any further. So that's what I did.
And so, we're going to get into it in the second part of the episode, but like this box, like, how does this work as in, like, connecting with the plant, and, like, what is it reading exactly?
Okay, so inside this box, which is basically a prototype of the machine that I eventually want to get to market, is an electronic board that I had some help developing.
Okay.
And the device basically has 2 probes that connect to the plant. I have them, I don't think you can get it on the camera, but we can get a close shot earlier and edit that in.
For sure.
So it has some very delicate clips that clip onto the leaf of the plant on 2 different points. And you can do it that way, or you can have one probe in the soil and then the other on the leaf, or sometimes on the stem of the plant. But to answer your question, what it's doing is it's measuring the very subtle, very small electrical shifts or changes in the plant, and then converting that into an audible sound that we can hear.
That's so cool.
And it effectively, as I like to explain, it's giving the plant the opportunity to play a keyboard.
That is so cool.
That's it. So that sound that you might be able to hear, or we'll edit in later, is a sound that I specifically chose.
Okay.
Because it's a nice sound to hear. You could literally have it playing a violin, a piano, a trumpet.
Oh, no way. So there's different outputs for like the instrument.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, cool.
It's like letting it play a synthesizer.
Okay.
So what's more important than anything is understanding that the melody that you're hearing from the plant is the plant.
Okay.
It's like if you let a 5-year-old play on a keyboard.
Yes.
It really doesn't matter what instrument it's playing. It's really about the melodic, the melody, the different tones that it's shifting between.
Okay.
And so at that, like as you might be able to hear now, it actually has, I'm going to turn it up and see if the mic might be able to pick it up. It actually has this one in particular, which I love to listen to all the time at home.
I love it too.
It has a very consistent
rhythm.
Tempo. Yeah. Very.
Like almost like a pattern. Like
yeah.
I get the unique expression of this plant.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because we were just talking and somebody was helping us with the audio equipment and we're like each plant has its own unique expression.
That's right.
And its own unique song.
That's
so right. and I think a lot of the viewers can relate to that because there are people like, you know, plants have different personalities. Like one of the audio equipment people here was like, oh, I really want to know what the cactus has to say because there's like some plants really scream at you.
Oh yeah.
And even at the beginning, we're like, as soon as we hit live, it was quiet, right? Like the shyness of a plant.
Some of them, especially this one, tends to get shy in some cases because I've brought this one in front of 100 people or 50 people, 10 people, and it's moody.
Okay.
I've had this all started with simply an experiment for myself.
Okay.
I had it playing at home for months on end, and I began to recognize that there are times of day where it was more chatty than others.
No way!
So it actually tends to be moody. What? It responds to your emotions. That's
for sure.
That's a fact.
Okay.
I've had that. I've done many experiments, not just with myself, but with groups of people. Can
you talk us a bit about that with sending thought waves that may be, you know, negative or harmful or hurtful towards a plant?
Sure, yeah.
And those that are like life-giving and what happened?
People are always reluctant to do this part. They're always happy to do the love part, but it's the other side of the coin. Does it respond to negative emotions?
Yes.
So I've done it myself, and I've done it with groups of people where 5 to 10 people would literally encircle a plant, and we'd listen to it. And we would give it loving words, living thoughts. And it would sound actually very similar to this and sometimes a little more chimey. It would go diddling, diddling. And then as a fair experiment should go, we did the opposite, where we gave it some time sort of to settle down, didn't talk to it, and then started giving it negative emotions, saying, you're a bad plant, you're ugly,
it's terrible.
Terrible.
Bad things about its mama, that kind of thing.
And then the plant would start to create sort of low, ugly melodies out of it.
Lower,
like bam, boom, boom. Or go silent. Some plants actually just go silent, and then you don't hear from it from like half an hour to an hour.
Seriously.
So, yeah, it's not always exactly predictable because I think they're individuals.
So they take it differently.
Yeah.
They take the negativity differently.
Different plants will take it differently. So you can't always predict exactly how they're going to behave, much like a cat or maybe a dog, unless it's a professional trained dog. But I would like to get to a point where I would have a lab, a room with 100 plants with 100 connections. And so at that point, we would be more scientifically, we would create a wider variable set, as there would be said in the scientific community.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by wider variable set?
Well, if you have 100 of the same plants,
okay,
all experiencing the same input.
Okay.
Like, say you're just walking up and down the aisle of plants and saying, I love you.
Okay.
And then at the same time, like a few hours later, saying you're evil. Then you would basically be collecting 100 different signals from different plants.
Right.
And the average would most likely be the most likely signal from all the plants.
Do you think that like all cacti have like have a general rhythm? Do you know what I mean? Versus like a snake plant versus, a nerve plant or whatever? Like is there...
I believe so.
Okay.
I can't say for sure because I haven't had the...
You want to test it?
The privilege to test 100 cacti plants.
Okay.
But it's you could say it's the same thing with dogs or humans for that matter.
Yes.
There's that placebo test, and you need enough experiments or enough subjects to get an average, and you'll be able to say at the end of the experiment, okay, we know that on average, saying this to a plant or this temperature for the plant and so on will give us this result. Okay. Or give us this melody in this particular case.
You know, I've heard isolated studies as well where they put plants behind, I want to say behind bars, but in a soundproof room kind of like this, yeah. Right? And, you know, they send thoughts to it and they read it off a lie detector, that
polygraph machine.
Polygraph machine, yeah. Thank you. So they read it off of that and they measure that I guess that leads to the question of, do plants have thoughts and feelings? And I know that this is kind of like, if they do, then should we be breatharians?
That's a very controversial topic.
It totally is. It totally is. But I liked your response, and I was like, I want to include it in there. I thought it was important.
Okay, so this is our pre-interview discussion. I don't believe that we should all be breatharians. I think a lot of people would suffer dramatically because they would not be able to quickly adjust their diet profile to do that. And more importantly, I believe in the understanding of some that all life feeds on life to survive.
Like a cycle of life. The animal kingdom knows that.
Yeah, it's
like
not. It is the cycle of life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So even if you go to plants down to the bacterial level, at the root level, the roots are actually consuming other microorganisms, digesting them and integrating them into their life structure. So even plants technically are carnivores. You don't get they're right down to the plant level. There's no being.
It's like a Venus flytrap. It's like, we're just gonna take this and digest this.
Well, if you get to the point where you realize that all life is intelligent, and life is eternal in a constant cycle, then there really is no death. There really is just a constant transition of energy and life from one to the other.
Yes.
So personally, I don't think that you can condemn somebody for consuming another life being, whether that's a plant or a chicken. But I do have a strong feeling for treating intelligent beings, whether they're plants.
Yeah, I love how you said that, the intelligence of plants.
Or animals, maliciously. Which is where I think treatment of plants.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So the treatment of animals and the treatment of plants and the intelligence behind it.
I think that if we get to the point where we recognize plants are intelligent, and in my opinion and many others, it's been proven, then we can look at all life on Earth and recognize that all life deserves a certain amount of respect as far as its presence. So whether you're going to eat an animal or a plant, obviously not a cacti, but they deserve a certain amount of respect during their lifetime. So I personally, I do eat chicken, I eat fish, but I don't condone the torture or mistreatment of those creatures.
Okay, yeah.
So for the sake of the creatures and also for the respect towards myself, I don't want to be consuming an animal or a plant that's been tortured, whether through pesticides, herbicides, or other things. I mean, those things definitely torture them in certain ways as well.
Yes. And the planet.
And the planet, yeah.
As a whole, because we're all connected.
You know, it gets to that point where we're all one, which is a little bit cliche, but technically, if you understand, even at a scientific level, at a very simple, basic level, there's a circle.
Yes. Then
give some respect, whether it's a plant or meat. It's the same thing.
Shout out. That was good. That was really good. Okay. So does that tie into, because you were sharing a bit about this before, about I mean, this is a passion project of yours, and just talk about like your intention, your reasoning why why you want to put this out to the world. Because I thought that was beautiful.
Well, as you said, it started off as a passion project, just to have that, I would say, privilege almost to be able to listen to the plants in my space, to see how this relationship that I've had with them is actually coming out, so that relationship is expressed in a way that I am more capable of interacting with. And I know that there are people out there that can literally connect with plants. I'm just not at that level yet. maybe that's you.
I totally connect with them. But
Okay.
but go ahead. This is about you.
So, as I've had this journey, this very personal journey with my plants, and sharing that with a bunch of other people over the last year now, I've come to the conclusion that this needs to be brought out to the public in a much bigger way, because I believe that there will be a point, a critical mass, where if enough people out there, either through the direct experience of these plants or by proxy, get to a point where they realize that all life, all plants are intelligent, then we won't have any other moral choice than to give them the respect they deserve. And that effectively means the entire planet.
Yeah.
It's a planet of intelligent life beings.
Yes.
It's a life force. So I think that when that happens, the behavior of humans will have to change. It'll be a moral dilemma within us to say, we need to change our behavior towards the forest, towards the Amazon, towards the ocean, towards the air that we live in.
Yeah.
And I think that will be, in my opinion, a point of raising consciousness, or a point where, you said it better actually, this will be a catalyst or a facilitator to raising human consciousness so that we'll be better people on a better earth.
We were saying, yeah, I remember this because we were talking about part of raising your consciousness and awareness is also raising, being in a receptive mode that Tesla was saying, right? Like, my mind's only a receiver to information and knowledge. And when you are in that high vibratory state, as this plant is demonstrating, vibration and energy and consciousness, and some may debate that. Go read The Secret Life of Plants. Yeah, right. I mean, it's a fountain of knowledge. It's a great book by Peter. And vibration, then you're gonna send off a different signal, and you'll get different solutions to problems and challenges that this planet faces. So, yeah, I mean, I love how when people will connect with this device and connect with their plants, something starts to change, because it's like, hey, there's, a different sound or like with the snake plant, for example. I don't know if it's in the frame, but we're going to talk about that in the second part of the episode. But, like when I come home, I say he, but he's super excited to see me, right? And he's like, where'd you go? Especially when I came back from Toronto. So it's like, I think a lot of people can relate to that, and providing this scientific box and basis, I think, helps, bridge the gap with the scientific community and the spiritual community, and we can all kind of fist pump and work together on this, right? Because we're all in this together. Yeah. But can you describe to me, because we're gonna wrap up this first part, and the second part is we're gonna do live demos. Yeah. With these plants, so like stay tuned and watch that, like seriously. Orchestra part of the plants and what that experience is like, actually sitting on stage, because I'm trying to picture it in my mind, and I would like to visualize it for our viewers, what it is to sit there and just like, how does that start? How does that go with the orchestra part of it?
In Italy, what they literally had was a professional stage, with professional instruments and multiple plants. I think it was about 8 plants on stage. Okay. Which was a raised stage, and then below in the audience was about 100 chairs where people could sit. Okay. And they had a various selection of plants who were all technically trained to play music. And so people, probably some people are going to raise their eyebrows on that. Because it goes back to the experiments and then the processes which they employed to get these plants to actually be more melodic, as far as we're concerned. That
is so cool. We're pushing consciousness to the edge. We're like edge walkers here. So let's keep going.
So they were able to show, and I've done this to I did these experiments at home of letting my plants, and myself of course, listen to different types of music. And I went from techno to rock to pop to classical and all the various subgenres. And I discovered that most of my plants actually preferred classical and Baroque for the most part. I'm serious. And I came to that conclusion simply because the melody that would come out of the plants through this device was actually, for the most part, in sync with the music.
Okay.
It takes like 10, 20 minutes sometimes, but then after that time, you begin to hear this coherence of the melody and the music that I'm actually playing.
Okay.
And that's a pretty cool thing. It's sort of like listening to a prodigy child sitting there with the keyboard. You got, Mozart playing in the background, and then suddenly you're like, wait a second, little Tammy on the keyboard is actually jamming, even though he's had no piano lessons. So what's going on?
Yeah, totally.
So that's how that experience was. And then after time, after like several months,
Okay.
it was pretty quick.
So you're priming it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then the experiment in Damanhur was simply they would have one plant that would have a lot of experience with music. You just turn on the music and the plant would just like jam it out with the music. And then they would have another plant that has never had any experience with music, and obviously it wasn't as trained.
Seriously, hands down, that's so crazy.
So the cool thing was the communication. What they did was
Yes.
they would take those two plants in an isolated room. They would sit them beside each other, and within an hour, it's as if one plant had fully trained the other one, because then when they took the second plant, it was right there in tune with the first one.
So wait, so they helped out each other?
Yeah, they basically, just by sitting them beside each other, I can't remember if they were touching leaves, but the point is, by giving them that proximity,
they're in the same vicinity of, yeah.
It's as if
The
all that
transfer.
all that music training was passed on. So then when we put the second plant, when they put the second plant in the room with music,
Yeah.
it was right there playing along. So they did that with several
That was a mic
plants,
drop.
connected them all to different electronic music equipment,
Okay.
and basically had an orchestra.
Okay, I need a moment. Can we all take a moment to just appreciate what this man just said here?
I didn't do it. They did it.
But hey, it's the story. I mean, we're here sharing this information, and I
Yeah.
think it's so vital for the planet today, especially. And I have to say, like, just having your plant. I don't know if you named your plant.
I don't actually. I think that they have names actually. It's some spiritual name, but that I haven't been told. I just give them the respect that I like to give them, and
They just have a calming effect. Like it's like when you have a pet or like an animal companion in the room, it just changes the energy in that room. I wanted to just say further, when you had the two plants and one was kind of teaching the other, it reminded me of the Secret Life of Plants, because the mycelium network underneath, right? They would data transfer information, and if there was one part in the forest, because a forest knows when you're there.
Yeah, of course. Oh yeah.
And they know who's there. Like when I go to the forest, there's certain trees that I think this is important to like build a relationship with the trees and the animal kingdom and stuff. And it's not just, and I'm not the only one who says, there's another guy, the Herbal Jedi, who says this too. But like, because we're all in this together, right? But he was just saying that, like, go and build a relationship with the plant. Like, it's not just one time, and your buddies. Sometimes it might happen that way, like with the cacti. But like, like build that relationship. And the thing with the book that I just wanted to add, because I just want to share that with your story, was that if one area of the forest was weak, it would send like nutrition.
It would send nutritional value. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a competition versus cooperation.
Sure.
I mean, I wonder how a jungle is like.
Oh, a jungle is probably as more complex than human civilization.
That's true.
But yeah, there's always competition and sharing. I think the expression of that competition is a natural system of selection.
Okay.
Because even nature knows best more than humans at this point, that not everybody can live, not everybody can grow, so a system needs to select the best out of what's available, out of who or what's available, to take things further. And then the rest can go back into the life cycle and contribute to those who are representing the best.
Because that was interesting, because in one segment it was if a plant was feeling weak or sick, it would send help.
For sure.
And I was just like, okay, like, I think we're just scratching the surface on so many times. I think there might be another episode coming out, I feel like. I mean,
sure.
Past part, Francis, I would love to.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap it up with this, because I really want to get into the demos. We're going to get into the demos of this.
Okay.
But what's next for you? What are you looking for with project-wise and funding and stuff? If you'd like to speak on that, because like this is freaking amazing.
Well, I want to bring this out to the public. I want everybody that's interested to have the opportunity to have this in their home. So what I'm looking for is some investment capital and manufacturing partners, people that can help me take this and develop it into a product that can be mass produced at a cost-effective scale.
Okay.
And give the world an opportunity to listen to plants like I can.
Thank you so much for your genius and for your intelligence and for bringing this device to North America, you know, and letting us play with it and be a part of it, and for communicating with our plants in such a unique and expressive way. Like I can't wait to have one of these. So,
cool.
So thank you so much, and thank you for watching. Now stay tuned next Freya, Happy Freya, on Friday. We're going to release part 2 where we get nitty gritty down and dirty with these plants and show you at the soil level, at the root level, how all this works.
Yeah.
And we'll have like a little mini orchestra of our own here in Vancouver, BC. Love ya. Bye.
See ya.
Okay, I have to add this too, because I don't know if I'm going to add it. Francisco does not have a social media. He's like the only guy that I know that doesn't have like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or
Okay.
But I thought that was so beautiful, because like there's some days where I'm like, I just want to shut down my Facebook account. I know this might not be part of the plant show, but I really want to share it. What was your reasoning behind not engaging in social media that way?
Well,
I have
you know,
to.
I just have this feeling that we spend way too much time with technology, with our screens. It's
Yes.
just everywhere. I'd
Yeah.
rather spend more time hanging out with the forest and the plants, or I play music, playing it. So I just like to keep things simple. I've got email. I've got a cell phone.
Yeah.
What else do I really need? I'd rather hang out with people in person and get to know their life through what they want to
Yes.
tell me,
Yes.
than follow some stream of constant info that's distracting me from what I would consider more important time spent.
With
That's it.
plants.
Yeah. So
There you go.
I resisted, and I've been able
He
to do this for
resisted.
So let's see.
But I'm here bringing it out, and we're
Yeah. I'm happy to help or work with other people that want to bring that out. That's what they do. What I do is my own. It's
we
my own thing.
complement each other.